even the original sin. Who was Eve? Eve is a pivotal figure in the Bible, specifically in the book of Genesis. She is recognized as the first woman created by God and the wife of Adam, the first man. Here is a comprehensive account of her story, focusing on her identity, significance, and role in biblical history. Creation and early life. God created Adam from the dust of the ground and breathed life into him. Adam lived in the Garden of Eden, where he tended the garden and named the animals. Seeing that Adam was alone, God decided to create a companion for him. God caused Adam to fall into a deep sleep, took one of his ribs, and from it fashioned Eve. When Adam saw her, he declared, "This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, for she was taken out of man." Genesis 2:23. The Hebrew word for woman is Isha, which is derived from Ish, meaning man, indicating her origin from Adam. Name and identity. Initially, Eve is referred to simply as woman, Isha, in the Genesis narrative. It is only after the fall, when God pronounces the curses due to their disobedience, that Adam names her Eve. The name Eve comes from the Hebrew word chava, or hava, which means living or life-giver. Adam named her Eve because she would become the mother of all the living, Genesis 3:20. This change signifies her role in human history as the progenitor of all humanity. Life in the Garden of Eden. Adam and Eve lived in the Garden of Eden, a paradise where they had everything they needed and lived in innocence and harmony. They were instructed by God to freely eat from every tree in the garden, except for the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. God warned them that eating from this tree would result in death, Genesis 2:16-17. The temptation and fall. In Genesis 3, a serpent, described as more cunning than any other beast of the field, approached Eve and questioned God's command. The serpent suggested that God had forbidden the fruit because eating it would open their eyes and make them like God, knowing good and evil. Eve saw that the fruit was good for food, pleasing to the eye and desirable for gaining wisdom, so she took some and ate it. She also gave some to Adam, who was with her, and he ate it as well. After eating the fruit, their eyes were opened, and they realized they were naked. They sewed fig leaves together to cover themselves. When God walked in the garden, they hid from him. God called out to Adam, who admitted they were hiding because they were naked. God knew they had eaten from the forbidden tree and confronted them. Adam blamed Eve, and Eve blamed the serpent, Genesis 3:1-13. The curse and expulsion. As a result of their disobedience, God pronounced curses upon the serpent, Eve, and Adam. The serpent was cursed to crawl on its belly and eat dust all its life. God declared enmity between the serpent and the woman, and between their offspring, predicting that the woman's offspring would crush the serpent's head, while the serpent would strike the heel of the woman's offspring. Genesis 3:14-15. Eve's curse involved increased pain in childbirth and a desire for her husband, who would rule over her. Adam's curse was that the ground would be cursed because of him, producing thorns and thistles, and he would have to toil painfully for food until he returned to the dust from which he was made. Genesis 3:16-19. God made garments of skin for Adam and Eve to clothe them, and then banished them from the Garden of Eden to prevent them from eating from the tree of life and living forever. He placed cherubim and a flaming sword to guard the way to the tree of life. Genesis 3:21-24. Life after Eden. Adam and Eve began their life outside Eden. Eve gave birth to 2 sons, Cain and Abel. Cain, the oldest son, became a farmer, while Abel became a shepherd. In a fit of jealousy, Cain murdered Abel, leading to further sorrow for Eve, Genesis 4:1-8. Despite this tragedy, Eve later gave birth to another son, Seth, whom she saw as a replacement for Abel and a continuation of the righteous line, Genesis 4:25. Significance and legacy. Eve is often seen as a symbol of life and motherhood, as she is the mother of all the living, Genesis 3:20. Her story is foundational to the understanding of human nature, sin and the need for redemption in Christian theology. The events in the Garden of Eden set the stage for the biblical narrative of salvation history, with Jesus Christ often being referred to as the second Adam, who redeems humanity from the fall initiated by Adam and Eve. Further insights. Eve's story is also notable for the complex dynamics between her and Adam. After the fall, their relationship changes as God declares that Adam will rule over Eve, marking a shift from the equal partnership implied by her creation from his rib. This dynamic has been interpreted in various ways throughout history and has influenced theological and cultural discussions on gender roles. Additionally, the serpent's interaction with Eve highlights themes of temptation and free will. The serpent's cunning questions and Eve's subsequent decision to eat the fruit underscore the human capacity for choice and the consequences that follow. This narrative element has been a focal point in understanding the nature of sin and moral responsibility. In some interpretations, Eve's role extends beyond the immediate biblical narrative, influencing later Jewish, Christian, and Islamic thought. In Christianity, Eve's story is often juxtaposed with the Virgin Mary's, where Mary is seen as the new Eve, who, through her obedience, participates in the redemption of humanity. Overall, Eve's legacy is rich and multifaceted, encompassing themes of creation, temptation, sin, motherhood, and redemption. Her story continues to be a vital part of biblical teachings and theological reflections.